The stranger in the alley. The city was quiet, but not peaceful. Neon lights flickered above the wet streets, painting everything in blue and green reflections. The rain had been falling for hours, washing the dust and smoke from the air. Ethan walked alone through the narrow streets, his coat soaked, his shoes splashing in puddles. He worked long hours as an engineer, fixing machines no one cared about anymore. It was another lonely night in a city that had forgotten what kindness meant. As he passed an alley, he heard something faint. It wasn't the sound of a cat or the dripping water. It was a soft voice, trembling and weak, like someone crying. Ethan stopped, turning his head toward the sound. He hesitated, wondering if it was safe to check, but something inside told him to look. The alley was dark and narrow, full of broken crates and old trash bins. At the end of it, near a metal wall, he saw movement. A small figure was sitting there, shaking, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked like a girl, maybe 15 or 16. Her clothes were torn and soaked, her skin pale against the darkness. When the light from the street touched her face, Ethan froze. Her eyes glowed faint green, bright even through the rain. Her hair, tangled and dripping, shimmered with a strange emerald color, and her ears. They were longer, pointed slightly at the ends. Ethan blinked, thinking it must be a trick of the light. But then she looked up at him, fear in her eyes. "Please," she whispered. "Food, please." Ethan's heart twisted. She looked so thin, so fragile, like she hadn't eaten in days. He reached into his bag and pulled out the small box of leftovers from dinner. "Here," he said softly, placing it near her. The girl stared at the food, then at him, unsure if it was safe. When he nodded, she reached out slowly, hands trembling. As she took a bite, Ethan noticed something strange. With each bite, faint lines of light appeared on her skin. They looked like glowing veins or symbols, spreading gently along her neck and arms. Ethan stepped back, his breath caught. He had seen many strange things working with machines, but never anything like this. The girl didn't notice his shock. She kept eating, tears mixing with the rain. When she finished, she looked up again, her lips trembling. "Thank you. Human," she said softly. The way she said it made Ethan pause. Human, not man, or sir, but human. Like she was something else. He crouched down carefully, trying not to scare her. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, her eyes blinking fast as if remembering something painful. "Lyra," she whispered. "My name is Lyra." Her voice was soft, musical, almost echoing in the alley. Before Ethan could ask more, thunder rolled overhead. The girl flinched, her glowing eyes darting to the dark sky. "They will find me," she said suddenly, her voice shaking. "Who?" Ethan asked, confused. The hunters," she whispered, pressing her hands to her head. "They follow the light. They always find the light." Ethan looked around, but the alley was empty. Only rain and shadows. Still, something about her fear felt real. She looked like she had been running for days. Her feet were bare, scratched and bleeding. Her skin had strange marks, like burns or wounds that healed wrong. Ethan couldn't leave her here, not in this condition, not with that fear in her eyes. "Come on," he said gently, holding out his hand. "My place isn't far. You can rest there." Lyra stared at his hand for a long time. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched it. Her skin was warm, almost too warm. The glowing lines on her arm faded slightly. She stood up, shaky but trusting. They walked together through the rain. Ethan kept looking over his shoulder, half expecting someone to follow. He couldn't explain it, but he felt something watching from the dark. The city seemed quieter than usual. Even the streetlights flickered strangely. When they finally reached his small apartment, Lyra hesitated at the door. She looked up at the night sky and whispered something in a language he didn't understand. Then she stepped inside. Ethan gave her a towel, and an old blanket. She sat near the small heater, shivering, her eyes scanning the room like everything was new. He made her a cup of warm soup. When she tasted it, her face softened, like she hadn't felt comfort in a long time. After a few minutes, she spoke quietly. "You are kind," she said. "Humans are not all cruel." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked up at him, her glowing eyes full of sadness. "They took everything," she said softly. "The sky, the home, the stars." Her words didn't make sense, but they carried heavy pain. Ethan didn't push further. He could see she was exhausted. She finished her soup, then curled up on the couch, her breathing slow and calm. Ethan watched her for a long time. Something deep inside told him this girl wasn't just lost. There was a story behind her glowing eyes and broken words. Outside, the rain kept falling. In the distance, a shadow moved across the rooftops. A faint red light blinked once, scanning the street below. Whatever was searching had found a trail, and Ethan didn't know it yet. But by saving one starving alien girl, he had just stepped into something much larger than his quiet life. Something that would test the heart of humanity itself. The guest who wasn't human. The next morning began quietly. Rain still tapped against the glass, soft and endless. Ethan woke to the smell of damp air and the faint hum of city drones passing outside. For a moment, he forgot the night before. Then he turned and saw her. Lyra was sitting near the small heater, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the light like she was trying to understand it. Her eyes glowed faintly, even in daylight. Ethan noticed how carefully she moved, as if every sound might hurt her. She looked cleaner now, calmer, but still distant. When she saw him awake, she smiled slightly, shy and unsure. "Did you sleep?" he asked, handing her a cup of warm water. She nodded slowly. "Your place is warm," she said, her voice still soft and strange. "I haven't felt warm for many nights." Ethan sat down across from her. He wanted to ask questions, but didn't know where to start. Finally he said, "You said last night they were hunting you. Who are they?" Lyra looked down, twisting the blanket in her hands. "They are not from my world," she whispered. "They came from the black ships, the ones that take, not give." Her words sent a small chill through the room. Ethan frowned, trying to understand. "Are you saying you're not from Earth?" She looked up, eyes shining. "No," she said simply. "I came from a place far away where skies are silver and the sea glows green." Ethan didn't laugh, didn't argue. He just stared. Something about the way she spoke felt too real to be a lie. And those faint glowing lines under her skin, they couldn't be makeup or tricks. "Then why are you here?" he asked quietly. Lyra's expression changed, sadness darkening her glow. "My ship fell," she said. "I was running from them, but it broke in your skies." She pressed her hand against her chest, and for a second, the air shimmered around her fingers. Her heartbeat sounded different, soft but rhythmic, like distant music. Ethan felt wonder rise inside him, mixed with fear. He was sitting in a tiny apartment with someone who wasn't human. "Does anyone else know you're here?" he asked. Lyra shook her head quickly. "No. If they find me, they will take me, and they will hurt you too." Her tone was sharp now, protective. Ethan leaned back, staring at the window, rain sliding down like tears. Outside, a patrol drone buzzed low between buildings, its red light scanning the street. He hoped it wouldn't notice anything strange. Over the next hours, Lyra explored the apartment carefully. She touched every object like she was learning its story. She asked about simple things: why the heater was warm, why humans kept pictures, why people lived so close together. Ethan answered as best he could, feeling both amused and amazed. Sometimes, she would stop talking and stare at her reflection in the window, whispering words in her language. When she did, the marks on her skin pulsed softly like living circuits. By evening, Ethan had begun to forget his fear. He made food again, simple soup and bread. Lyra ate slowly, smiling after each bite like it was a treasure. "You feed like my people once did," she said, before the cold stars came. Ethan didn't understand, but her words carried loneliness. He wanted to comfort her, but didn't know how. So he said, "You can stay here until you're ready to go." She looked at him, eyes wide with surprise. "No one has said that to me before," she whispered. Then she smiled, a small glowing smile that filled the room with warmth. For the first time in years, Ethan felt his apartment alive. The silence that once felt heavy now felt peaceful. He realized he liked having someone there, even someone from another world. But peace never lasts long in cities like theirs. That night, while Lyra slept, Ethan sat at his desk, staring at the small device he had taken from her bag earlier. It looked like a crystal, covered in metal threads, pulsing with dim light. He hadn't meant to take it. Curiosity just got the better of him. When he touched it, the crystal responded. It projected an image above the table, a planet, green and silver, spinning slowly in space, then a flash of light and hundreds of dark ships surrounding it. He pulled his hand back, his heart racing. Lyra woke instantly, as if she felt it. "Don't touch that," she said, rushing toward him. Her voice wasn't soft anymore. It was sharp, frightened, powerful. Ethan stepped back. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." She held the crystal close to her chest, eyes glowing brighter now. "That is memory," she said quietly. "It holds what they did." Ethan swallowed hard, realizing her story wasn't fantasy. It was truth recorded in light. Before he could say anything, the window flashed red. A scanning beam swept across the apartment, humming low. Lyra froze, whispering, "They found the signal." Ethan looked out and saw two dark vehicles, hovering near the street below. Men in black armor stepped out, faces hidden behind glass masks. Lyra's hands began to shake, the markings on her skin glowing again. "They're close," she whispered. "Too close." Ethan grabbed his coat. "There's a service tunnel behind the building," he said. "We can hide there." She looked at him, confused. "You will help me again?" He nodded without hesitation. "Of course," he said. "I can't let them take you." For a moment, something like gratitude and pain crossed her face. Then she whispered, "You are not like the others." The sound of boots echoed in the hall outside. The door vibrated as someone tried the handle. Ethan looked at Lyra, then at the back window. "Go," he said. "Now." Together they slipped into the rain-filled alley, vanishing into the shadows. Behind them, the apartment door burst open, and voices shouted through the storm. But Ethan and Lyra were already gone, running into the night, two strangers bound by one act of kindness. And somewhere deep above the clouds, unseen by them both, something ancient and powerful stirred, waiting for the signal that would soon come. The chase and the truth rain fell harder as Ethan and Lyra ran through the narrow streets. The night smelled of smoke and metal, the city lights turning the puddles into glowing mirrors. Behind them came the low hum of drones and the distant echo of boots. Lyra moved fast, barefoot, but silent, her glowing marks lighting the path in short flashes. Ethan followed, his heart pounding, not sure if he was running from danger or towards something greater. They turned into a side street filled with broken vehicles. Ethan pulled a metal cover from the ground, revealing a dark maintenance tunnel. "Down here," he whispered. Lyra hesitated for a second, then dropped inside without a word. He followed, pulling the cover shut, just as a drone passed overhead, its red light sweeping across the street. Inside the tunnel, it was quiet except for dripping water. The air was cold, heavy with rust and damp. Ethan caught his breath, looking at Lyra. Her skin still glowed softly, reflecting faint light on the tunnel walls. "You're hurt," he said, pointing to her arm, where a small burn mark had appeared. She shook her head. It will heal, she said, her voice calm despite everything. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan asked, "Who are those men? Why are they after you?" Lyra lowered her eyes, her voice trembling. "They are part of the same humans who came to my world," she said. "They took our lands, our air, our light, and turned it into machines." Ethan stared at her, confusion mixing with guilt. "What do you mean?" "Humans went to your planet." She nodded slowly. "They came in ships made of fire and iron, saying they came for peace, but they lied." Her voice broke slightly as she spoke. "They used our power, our energy. They called it biolight, the living force inside us." Ethan felt a knot tighten in his chest. He had heard of experimental missions, rumors of colonies beyond Mars, but this sounded different, darker. "They used us until we died," she whispered. "I escaped, but they followed." Ethan sat back against the wall, speechless. He had spent his whole life believing humanity was trying to make the universe better. Now, this small alien girl told him that his people had become the monsters. Lyra looked at him with sadness, but no anger. "You didn't know," she said gently. "Most humans don't." Her glowing eyes softened. "But you helped me. That means there is still light in you." The sound of metal clanging above made them both freeze. "They're scanning the tunnels," Ethan said. Lyra touched the wall, her fingertips glowing brighter. The stone around them shimmered slightly, hiding them in a soft mist. Ethan stared in awe. "What did you just do?" "It's a shield," she said quietly. "It bends light. They cannot see us for a little while." He nodded, trying to steady his breath. "What happens if they catch us?" he asked. She looked straight into his eyes. "They will take me back and erase me from existence. And they will erase you too, because you helped me." Ethan's jaw tightened. He clenched his fists. "Then we don't let them catch us," he said. Her lips curved into the smallest smile. "You are brave," she whispered. "Bravery is rare among your kind now." Hours later, they reached the old transport tunnels near the edge of the city. The walls were cracked, full of old signs and broken lights. Ethan stopped and looked at a large metal door marked S Station 04. "This place is abandoned," he said. "We can hide here." Lyra nodded, stepping carefully as they entered. The door creaked loudly, echoing through the empty hall. Inside were old machines, covered in dust. Screens flickered weakly, as if trying to wake after decades of sleep. Lyra walked to one of them and placed her hand on the console. Her markings glowed brighter, and the screen came to life. Ethan's eyes widened as alien symbols and human letters appeared together. "What is this?" he asked. "This is not human," she said softly. "This was built by my people before your kind destroyed the link." The screen showed star maps and data streams. Lyra pointed at a glowing point on the map. "My home," she whispered. "And this is Earth." The 2 points pulsed slowly, connected by a thin line of light. "This was once a gate, a bridge between worlds," she said. "But now it's dying." Ethan realized this was more than survival. This was about saving something much bigger. Before he could speak, the ground shook. A deep rumble echoed through the tunnel, dust falling from the ceiling. "They've found us," Lyra said, panic flashing across her face. Ethan grabbed her hand. "We have to move," but she stayed still, looking at the glowing map. "If they take this station, the truth dies," she whispered. "What truth?" Ethan shouted over the growing noise. Lyra turned to him, her eyes blazing like emerald fire. "The truth that your people are not alone, and that what they destroy, they will one day need to rebuild." Ethan didn't fully understand, but her words hit something deep inside him. Outside, the sound of soldiers' boots grew louder. Lyra looked at the console again. Typing fast, she said, "There is a transmitter here. It can send a signal beyond your sky." "To who?" Ethan asked. "To my people," she said. To tell them not all humans are lost. Ethan moved beside her, checking the cables and power lines. He worked quickly, reconnecting wires, sparks flying. Lyra's hands glowed brighter, sending energy into the system. The whole room pulsed with light, then a loud crash echoed. The soldiers had found the entrance. Red lights swept across the room. Ethan and Lyra looked at each other. Both breathing fast, she whispered, "Once I send the message, they will come for me again. Maybe for you too." Ethan nodded. "Then we finish it before they reach us." The screen flickered, showing a countdown. 10 seconds to transmit. Outside, heavy boots pounded closer, weapons charging. Lyra placed her hand on the console and whispered in her language. The light around her grew stronger, almost blinding. Ethan shielded his eyes as the door exploded inward. The soldiers burst in shouting commands, but before they could fire, a wave of green light swept across the room. It wasn't fire, it was warmth, energy, life. Their weapons short-circuited, their helmets sparked, and they fell to their knees, stunned. Lyra collapsed to the floor, her glow fading. Ethan ran to her, catching her before she hit the ground. The console beeped once, the signal sent, and high above the clouds, a single beam of light shot into the night sky, invisible to most, but seen by something waiting in the stars. Ethan looked down at Lyra, her eyes half open. "Did it work?" he asked softly. She smiled faintly. "They heard us," she whispered. "Now hope can begin again." Then her eyes closed, and the glow around her faded to silver. Outside, the rain finally stopped, and for the first time in years, the city's night sky cleared enough to show the stars, each one shining like a small promise that humanity's story was far from over. Hope remains. The light faded slowly, leaving behind silence and the smell of ozone. Ethan stood in the wrecked station, his breath shaky, holding Lyra's fading body close. The consoles flickered weakly, showing the final trace of the signal she had sent. Outside, the storm was breaking apart, and soft moonlight spilled through the cracks in the ceiling. Lyra's breathing was shallow, her glow dimming like a dying flame. "You did it," Ethan whispered. "You sent the message." She smiled faintly, her voice like wind through glass. "They will come," she said, "not to fight, but to see." Her eyes searched his face, full of warmth even through the pain. "You gave me something no one ever gave us before," she whispered. "A home even for a moment." Ethan felt tears in his eyes, though he didn't understand why. He had only known her for a few days, yet she had changed everything inside him. "Stay with me," he said, his voice breaking. "We'll fix this. We'll find a way." But she shook her head gently. "My time here is almost done," she said. "But yours is not." She reached out, placing her glowing hand on his chest. A faint warmth spread through him, calm and steady. "Carry the light," she said softly. "Don't let them forget what it means to be human." Her hand fell, her glow fading completely. For a moment, everything went still. Then the console beside them lit up again, showing strange symbols in bright green. The same words repeated over and over. "Signal received." Ethan stared at the screen, hardly breathing. Somewhere out there, someone had heard her message. The soldiers who had stormed the room were gone now, scattered or unconscious from the energy wave. Ethan stood slowly, laying Lyra down gently on the floor. Rain dripped from broken pipes above, falling softly on her still face. He looked at her one last time, then turned toward the exit. As he stepped outside, the air felt different, lighter somehow. The storm clouds had cleared, and for the first time in months, stars were visible over the city. People were coming out of their homes, staring at the sky. A strange beam of green light pulsed faintly in the distance. Some whispered that it was a signal. Others called it a miracle. Ethan just stood there, soaked in rain and light. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew something had changed. Not just for him, but for all of them. In the days that followed, news spread across the world. Satellites had detected an unknown signal, leaving Earth and traveling toward deep space. Governments tried to cover it. Scientists argued about its meaning. But the people, the ordinary people, felt something new stirring inside them. They began painting the words, "Hope remains" on walls, buildings and streets. It became a symbol, a quiet rebellion against despair. No one knew where it started, but Ethan did. He fixed the broken transmitter in the station and stayed there. Every night he watched the sky, waiting for a reply. Sometimes, he thought he saw a faint green light flicker among the stars. He liked to imagine it was Lyra, smiling somewhere far away. He didn't tell anyone her story, not yet. He wanted people to believe in the message first, not the myth. Years passed, and the city began to change. The same humans who once built machines of war began building shelters. They started cleaning the rivers, planting gardens where ashes once lay. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Hope had taken root, and it was growing, slowly but surely. One night, as Ethan stood on the rooftop, an old radio on his desk began to hum. He frowned, turning the dial. A soft, familiar voice came through the static. "Ethan," it said, faint but clear. "We heard you." He froze, heart racing. The voice continued, "The light you gave still shines." Then silence. He looked up at the stars, and for the first time, he smiled without sadness. In the sky, a single green spark appeared, brighter than the others. It pulsed once, then vanished. Ethan whispered into the wind, "Goodbye, Lyra." But deep inside, he knew she wasn't truly gone. Her light lived on, in the people who chose kindness, in the hearts that refused to give up. The world was still broken, but no longer hopeless. And somewhere beyond the stars, Lyra's people were listening, waiting, watching, believing that maybe, just maybe, humanity could change. Because even in the darkest times, when all seems lost, one act of kindness can light the whole galaxy. And as the stars burned above the sleeping city, one truth remained: hope remains. Would you like me to now create a YouTube narration script version of this full story? Parts 1-4. Formatted perfectly for a voice actor or AI narrator, with pacing cues, scene transitions, and emotional tone hints.